Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Brenda Mader.
Number 2.
My name is Brenda Mader.
Number 3.
My name is Brenda Mader.
Only one of these people is the real Brenda Mader, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now, let's meet our panel. Film and television producer David Niven Jr. Prominent attorney Gloria Allred. Four-time Super Bowl champion and MVP Lynn Swann. And TV interviewer and host Sarah Purcell. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Gordon Elliott.
Good morning. Thank you, and welcome. And panel, you look fresh and sparkling. That's a lovely outfit you're wearing today, Gloria.
Well, thank you, darling.
And that green vibrant. It's very. Isn't it funny how primary colors have an effect on men?
Do they? I'll try to remember that.
Look right behind you. And
Lawsuit. Oh, no.
David, lawsuit? Oh, really? We've, in fact, talking of lawsuits, let's get right to the story presented by our first team of challengers, because all three of these claim to be Brenda Mader. And if you'd like to read along with me, here is her story. I, Brenda Mader, was fired for dressing like a bimbo. I was a top-notch assistant state attorney, and I was told that my body-clinging suits, jungle print dresses, and stiletto heels were out of place in the courtroom. I filed a sexual discrimination complaint to protect my job and establish my right to dress as I please. They could fire me for shortcomings on the job, but not because of the shortness of my skirts. I refused to conform to the sexist notion that professional women should dress like men. It took me a year and a half, but I finally landed a great new law job, and wardrobe is as wild as ever. Signed, Brenda Mader. Welcome, ladies. And this is one custom built for you, Gloria, and we'll find out more about this case of the people versus bimbo right after this. Welcome back to Tell the Truth. All right, panel, these three people all claim to be Brenda Mader, a lawyer fired for dressing like a bimbo. We're going to start the questioning with the beautifully dressed Sarah Purcell.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Well, number one, tell me something. I think a lot of women either dress like their mothers or totally opposite of their mothers. Number one, in which situation is that for you?
Well, my mother's fairly preppy right now, but when she was in high school, she went to Catholic high school, and so did I, and she got thrown out because she used to wear red tights and a red beret, and the nuns told her she was a communist.
Number one, is that the reason why you chose to dress the way you chose to dress?
No, maybe I have some of her fashion sense, but I've always had my own sense of style.
Number two, in your field, it's not often that you see people dressed in that way. Why did you choose consciously to go against the grain?
I did choose consciously to go against the grain. I just, to wear the typical blues and grays were really not who I am, being a lawyer.
Okay, moving along. Lynn Swann.
Number three, how does a bimbo dress?
Well, I think the connotation that a bimbo gets is that she's all fluff and no substance. So I think it would be something to probably attract a lot of attention and kind of flits around in.
Okay. Number one, were you also turning the heads of the judges as opposed to other people?
No, I wasn't turning the heads of judges. I did have some judges ask me where I got certain outfits, but these were female judges.
Number two, did some of the people at the state attorney's office feel that their wives couldn't handle them working with you?
No, actually, I was never confronted with the way that I was dressed. It never caused a problem.
Okay, Gloria.
Number three, what effect, if any, did the women's movement have on your decision to file a sex discrimination complaint?
I think it had a lot of effect because I felt that I had that ability and that right to file that sex discrimination complaint, because had the women's movement not come as far as it had, I don't think I would have had the opportunity.
Number one, what effect do you think your dress has on your representation of a client in a case in your new job?
I don't think my dress really has that much effect unless you think of just defense attorneys and litigators in general have a tendency to be rather flamboyant. You look at Mr. Spence and F. Lee Bailey, and they'll wear the wild ties, and some of them have long hair and ponytails. So perhaps I attract more attention for my clients, and litigators have a tendency to be more flamboyant.
Number 3, what is your new job?
I'm now a public defender in San Diego.
Thank you.
David Niven Jr.
As you are a public defender in San Diego, it says here that your wardrobe is as wild as ever. I mean, is it even more wild than ever? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
No, I just feel that, especially here in San Diego, that I'm allowed to be a little bit more free and dress as I please.
All right, number 1, where were you, the assistant state attorney?
In Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Number 2 are you from Florida too? Is that
No,
where you're
I'm from Los Angeles.
Oh dear, 2 from California, 1 from Los Angeles. All right. Number 3, when you filed your sexual discrimination complaint, did you win in the filing?
No, I just recently filed it. Until I had landed a new job, I did not want that to be a problem, so I just recently filed it.
Number 3, did you?
Okay, time's up. I'm sorry, panel. Time to vote for either number 1, number 2, or number 3. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote, with a guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is fooled completely, the team will receive $3,000. So if you are ready to cast your ballots, panel will begin with Sarah.
Well, I'll tell you, I was impressed with all of you, but number 1 seemed to really know all those legal words and really said them all and said them very well, and it made a lot of sense to me. And all the stories about Catholic school and all, I thought they
All righty, okay. Your vote.
Well,
Lynn.
I looked at all 3 of them. The answers were very good. Something about number 3 and the way her hair is cut, I think, and the way she presents herself seems to be a little more conservative, like a lawyer. I have a feeling that number 2 is the person, and I voted for her because she presented the animal skin plus a somewhat stylish conservative coat on top of that. So I went for her.
Okay, she had a bet on each side. Gloria.
Well, this is very difficult. I was thinking number 1, she's very articulate. On the other hand, she says that she doesn't think her dress really affects her representation of a client on a case, and I'm not sure that a lawyer would say that. I think it's number 3. She felt the women's movement affected her decision, and I think it probably did. Number 3.
Okay. And David Niven Jr.
Gloria, I usually agree with you.
And you're usually wrong for that.
I know, but I'm not going to this time.
Okay.
No, I think I'm going to go for number 1 because number 1 knew the names and mentioned quite happily the names of those 3 top lawyers in this country.
Okay, she seemed familiar, didn't she? Let's find out who the real litigator is. The votes are all in. 2 for number 1, 1 for number 2, 1 for number 3. Now it is time to find the woman who just said no to Frumpy. Will the real Brenda Mader please stand up? You two. Very good. Sarah and David got it. Let me ask you a question. Who was it that took objection to your dress?
My supervisor.
Only that person?
That was the only person.
And is it true your case has not been settled?
No, we haven't. I was afraid to file a federal lawsuit because, quite frankly, I went to interviews where they snapped photographs of me and brought out my articles and asked me why I didn't pose for Playboy when they gave me the offer. Nobody was really taking me very seriously.
Right. Let's find out who our imposters really are. Number 2, your real name and occupation.
My real name is Jerry Carbenson. I'm a freelance publicist and a mother of a 2.5-year-old.
All right. Number 3. 1 vote. What's your real name and occupation?
My name is Kimberly Paul, and I'm a financial consultant with clothing stores.
You're a very good imposter.
Thank you.
Well, there were 2 incorrect votes at $500 a vote, so your team will receive $1,000, and thank you for being with us today on To Tell the Truth. And we'll be back after this message with a very courageous sea captain. Welcome back to Tell the Truth. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Bill Anderson.
Number 2.
My name is Bill Anderson.
Number 3.
My name is Bill Anderson.
Okay, panel, it's up to you to locate the real Bill Anderson. Here is his affidavit, and if you'd like to read along with me, we'll present it. I, Bill Anderson, am an oil tanker captain. Back in 1988, we spotted a 20-foot open boat adrift in the China Sea. It was loaded with Vietnamese refugees. Company policy discouraged picking up boat people. But the humanitarian law of the sea superseded that policy. These people were doomed. Their boat had lost power and was taking on water. We took all 12 adults and 12 children aboard. They had been at sea 8 days, the last 4 without food or water. I took 2 souvenirs from the boat, the propeller and the compass. Now I have 3 souvenirs. You see, one of those refugee children is now my foster son, T. Van Nguyen. Signed, Bill Anderson. Welcome, El Capitanos, and let's start the questioning with David Niven Jr.
Thank you. Number 1. What is the length of your oil tanker?
It's 84 feet.
Number 2. Where were you en route to and from?
From Subic Bay to Manila Bay.
And number 3. What type of boat were the refugees in?
They were in a wooden boat, about 20 foot long.
Was that the right sort of boat, number 1?
Yes.
Number 2. Wait, I lost my point here. With 12 minutes.
That's all right, time's up. The bell. Saved by the bell.
What's in my notes?
Gloria.
Number 3, how would you clean up an oil spill if you caused one?
I wouldn't clean up the oil spill. That's done by contract by my company.
Number 1, how would you clean it up?
I don't, the local authorities in whatever area the spill occurs take care of it.
And number 2?
Would have to be done by a contracted company.
Number 3, what made you decide to adopt your foster son?
I received letters from him, and he pleaded for help, that he was unadoptable because he didn't have his paperwork. He was an unaccompanied juvenile.
Number 2, how old is he?
17.
Number 1, how old is he?
He's currently 17.
Would you do it again?
And Lynn Swan.
Number 1, would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 2, why'd you take the souvenirs?
I like to collect nautical memorabilia.
Number 3, where did you port after you picked them up?
Manila.
And who took responsibility for the children there?
The authorities there in Manila.
Number 1, how much longer could they have survived on the open sea?
Not very long. 4 days without food and water. Their boat was completely without shelter. They're in danger of piracy.
Number 2, how many men were on board?
I don't remember.
Don't remember.
Okay, and finally, Sarah.
Number 3, what happened to the boy's parents?
They're still in Vietnam.
Okay. Tell me, what company are you with, number 2?
The company at the time was Ocean Carriers.
Number 2, are you still employed by that company?
No.
Did this rescue have anything to do with your leaving the company?
No.
No. Number 1, what company are you with?
Ocean Carriers.
Ocean Carriers.
We've got to leave it there. Unfortunately, time is up. Time to vote for either number 1, number 2, or number 3. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is fooled completely, the team will receive $3,000. Panel, if you're ready to cast your votes, we'll begin with David Niven Jr.
I'm confused. But that's not the first time.
Wouldn't be.
No.
Nor the last, I suspect.
I'm sure you're absolutely right. I think, however, number 1 and number 2 answered too many of the questions the same way, so that left me with my favorite number, which has done me so proud today.
It has.
Number 3.
When in doubt, vote for number 3. Okay. Gloria.
Well, I'm somewhat adrift on this one.
Oh.
But I think that when number 3 answered so quickly that the child's parents are still in Vietnam, it impressed me as perhaps he is the authentic one. So I'm going to vote for number 3, also because of his handlebar mustache.
Oh, his nautical mustache, Lynn.
I want to change my vote.
Well, you haven't given it.
Well, I know, because I've had this in my hand, because
Okay,
I
change
intended
it.
to vote. No, I'm not going to. It always bothers me if we vote for the same person, and I'm about ready to vote for number 3.
All right.
You know, because I believe him. He seemed very sincere about it. Number 2 didn't know how many men were on board. I would think with only 24 people there, 12 adults and 12 children, you remember something as detailed as that. And so I voted for number 3.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, number 1. I had no reason for not voting for you.
Uh-oh. Sarah, who are you going to vote for?
This is awful. This is terrible, because I thought it was number 3 as well. He seemed very knowledgeable.
Going to be a lot of
Am I going to lose it? No.
a familiar and traditional Vietnamese egg dish on everyone's face. Okay, the votes are all in. No votes for number 1, no votes for number 2. All of them resting on number 3. Let's find out who the real refugee rescuer is. Will the real Bill Anderson please stand up? Just goes to show. Just goes to show. And I'm sure we'd love to meet that very fortunate young man. T, if you could come out and say hello. Hello, T. Ladies and gentlemen, T. Van Nguyen. Chi, can I ask you, how do you feel living in America now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's better than floating around in a boat in the China Sea. I can, for one, very... But is there a policy? You said the humanitarian law of the sea. Does that supersede anything, Phil?
Well, it's not really a humanitarian law of the sea, but it's the law that dictates your own conscience to pick up people who are in need of rescue or assistance.
Well, congratulations to you. Let's find out who our imposters really are. Number one, your real name and job.
My name is Gerald Haston, and I'm a sommelier. That's a wine expert at a fine restaurant here in L.A.
Okay. Number three, you got all the votes, mustache and all. You stumped the panel. What's your real name?
My name's David Wilson. I'm a deputy sheriff with San Diego County Sheriff.
And an arresting personality. Your team stumped the panel, so you get $3,000. Congratulations, and thanks for playing To Tell the Truth. And we'll be back to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience right after this. You're watching To Tell the Truth. Now it's time to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience. Burton, who do you have for us today?
Well, Gordon, today we have for you Pat Young of San Antonio, Texas.
Hello, Pat.
Hi, Gordon. How you doing?
Good to have you on board. Pat, here's your chance to play one-on-one. I want you to meet a gentleman with two stories to tell you. His name is Scott Bruce. Welcome, Scott. Now, Scott is only going to tell you two stories, one of which is the truth. If you can spot the true story, you'll win $500. Scott, what is your first story?
For the last 4 years, I have been the mayor of Cambridge, Massachusetts. But it's over now. I was just defeated by my wife.
Now, that may or may not be the truth, Pat, so let's listen to Scott's second story.
I am a professional collector of cereal boxes. I am so well known, they call me Mr. Cereal Box.
Now, panel, to help Pat win that $500, you're going to ask a question about each of those stories. Let's start the story, number one, that of the mayor, and we'll begin with Sarah.
How did your wife break the news to you that she was going to run for your office?
I met her 6 years ago. We were both council people in Cambridge, and both Democrats. We both had plans to run for the mayor's office at some point, so it was no surprise to me.
Lynn.
Well, Scott, was it a landslide victory for your wife, or were you just barely defeated?
No, the way Cambridge mayoral politics run, it's a general election among the 9 council people. Whoever gets the biggest percentage of the vote is mayor for the next 4 years, and there was a margin of 500 votes between us.
Gloria.
Scott, why did your wife say she was going to run against you, and why did she really run against you?
Well, the official reason is a difference of opinion over rent control, which is the most divisive issue in Cambridge. We get along fine.
David.
After having licked your wounds, what are you doing now?
I'm planning for the next election in 4 years.
Now, Pat, you've heard Scott's first story. Now, story number two, that of the cereal box king. Again, we'll begin with a question from Sarah.
I have to know, why cereal boxes?
Because they're terrific investments, because they're mother loads of nostalgia.
Lynn.
Well, I don't think it's improper to use a brand name in this, because everyone knows how famous the Wheaties boxes are with their athletes on the cover. By the way, I've never been on a Wheaties box. Just in case.
But what a smile.
But I have some old pictures at home. What's the most famous and most expensive Wheaties box?
I would say the Buck Rogers box from 1942.
Gloria.
How many different kinds of cereal boxes have you collected?
I have thousands.
David.
I haven't been on a Wheaties box either, Lynn. You'll be happy to know, so don't feel too bad. What is the rarest cereal box?
It's a matter of dispute, but in my opinion, it's a 1965 Quake box.
Okay. Now, Pat, you've heard the cross-examination. Was Scott the mayor, or does he collect cereal boxes?
I kind of think cereal boxes because his suit looks a little bit oversized. I know that's strange, but mayors have public relations people that help them look wonderfully. I hope I don't offend you. I'm sorry.
What do you do in San Antonio, Pat? Okay, if you're right, you win $500. Scott, where'd you get that suit, and what's your true story?
To tell the truth, I am a collector of cereal boxes.
Congratulations, Pat, you won $500. And thank you for playing one-on-one. Scott, what have you brought to show us today? You've got something under there?
I just happened to bring some very collectible cereal boxes. Because this has correspondent, this is about a $500 box. This, because it has Superman, is worth maybe $1,000 or even $2,000.
Really?
This with Vanessa Williams, $100. With Yogi Bear, $1,000. And with Quake, At least 1,000.
Vanessa Williams is on a cornflakes box. She's on Pop-Tarts now, isn't she? Anyway. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for playing one-on-one. We'll be back right after these words. Welcome back. Before we go, our contestant, Brenda, has a message for her husband in the Persian Gulf.
Hi, Mad Dog. Come home safely.
All right, he's out there flying planes.
Helicopters.
We hope he comes home too. Okay, that's it for this edition of To Tell the Truth. Panel, you were great. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
It's the high-stakes room you haven't seen. Until now, the price of admission, $100,000 of your own money. This game is the real deal. High Stakes Poker premieres Monday, January 16th at 9.
GSN.